Welcome to the S&D 50 Week 10 edition. We are so happy to have you here. Spencer, for those who are listening for the first time, please explain what the S&D 50 is.
We rate teams based on their performance on the field and who they play and how they play them and how their opponents do too. We keep track of that as well. And all of that spits out an objective rating for each team.
Jacob, it's great to have you back.
Oh, it's so good to be back. Last Monday night, when we record is on Monday nights, my heart was hurting as I thought about you guys, and as I saw what transpired that previous week in college football. I felt like I had all these thoughts and nowhere to unleash them. So it just feels good to be back.
Hey, well, we're going to give you the chance to unleash those thoughts tonight. You drinking anything good?
Probably something better than you, but yeah, I'm drinking some liquid IV with some cubed ice out of a mason jar. What about you? What about you, Spencer?
I'm 2 for 3. I've also got a mason jar with cubed ice in it.
Whoa! Why cubed?
Well, my fridge doesn't make pebble ice. I live like a peasant, after all. But I am drinking the best flavor in the world, personal opinion, and one that I'm aware very few people share, but it is Spindrift Nojito. It is their lime and mint flavor of sparkling water, and it's great.
Jacob, did you get anything out hunting?
Sadly, let's just say I should stick to my day job.
Or hey, you could go college football full time.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Stick to the S&D 50, my day job.
As always, thank you to every single one of you who watch our videos, like, subscribe to the channel, join our Patreon.
Happy professional sports equinox to those who observe.
Week 9 games to watch. These are the games that the model identified as most competitive in Week 9. We will go through them one by one. Again, a game is considered competitive if the competitive rating is over 70 points. During the week, we had number 126 South Alabama beat Georgia State 38-31. Georgia State was ranked 125. The competitive rating on that game was an 81.2.
I watched that game. That was fun. I honestly am a little bit surprised that the competitive rating came in so high. It felt like South Alabama was going to pull away for a while, kind of towards the middle of that game, but Georgia State came roaring back, only to let it slip away at the end. Tough outlook for that team.
Jacob sent a picture to the group chat of the Georgia State bleachers. There's an entire section of single seats. Quite the sight to behold.
You know, looking at those single seats, my first thought was I would get one of those tickets.
For anyone who's an introvert, Georgia State's got your back.
If you just want to come watch some good Sunbelt football and not be bothered, they got single-seated seats for you.
Number 95 Appalachian State loses to number 87 Old Dominion. The score was 24-21. Old Dominion gets the win. The competitive rating was a 77.0.
Yeah, that was ODU fending off a comeback in that game. Appalachian State had a shot late, couldn't capitalize. I mean, it's so hard being down 2 scores in a game with like less than 5 minutes, because you've either got to score crazy fast and be able to burn like a 3-and-out, or you have to attempt to convert an onside kick.
Old Dominion back on the winning streak. Number 83 Toledo goes to number 79 Washington State. Final score was 28-7. The competitive rating was an 80.2, though it never really felt close. Spencer, why was it an 80.2?
That Toledo-Washington State game was an 80.2, in part because of how those scores happen. So if you look at the box score of this game, you get into the nitty-gritty. It tells you the story of how Washington State went up 3 touchdowns very quickly. Really, went from a 1-score lead to a 3-score lead really quickly. And then Mere seconds later, Toledo cut that from a 3-score down to a 2-score lead, and they were able to hold that until the very end of the game. And so, especially where this game was tied for an entire quarter, a 1-score lead for the better part of a quarter, and then a 2-score lead for the second half, it was a lot of back and forth. This is not a game where Washington State was dominating drive after drive after drive. This was a game of big plays, a couple of really big drives, but otherwise it was a lot of back and forth football and not really dominant, despite the fact that Washington State did hold a 2-score lead for most of the second half. That competitive rating, had they scored that last touchdown earlier, would have come down a lot faster. Our competitive ratings really take a nosedive when you hold a 3-score lead for any substantive amount of time. But a 1-score lead, those competitive ratings stay high. A 2-score lead is a little more gradual of a drop-off.
Number 69, Western Michigan, went to number 71, Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio wins 26-17. The competitive rating was an 82.2. The Battle of the MAC delivers.
Hey, I said last week, I said in the lead-up, I think the winner of this game is going to win the MAC. And I think I'll stick by that. Miami of Ohio was down. They had to have a fourth-quarter comeback to win, but they looked really good doing it.
As you look at South Alabama, number 126, and Georgia State, number 125, I'm going to be honest, I questioned, Andrew and Spencer, whether the model could accurately call these games when you get that low with teams rated that low, because I feel like teams are rated that low because they're inconsistent with their play. And so I really question if the model would be able to identify those competitive games still because of the inconsistencies of how bad the teams might be playing. But it's proven me wrong so far.
Well, I will say, to your point, there's a couple of different ways you can come upon your rating in the model. And if you look at ratings over time, this really jumps out. But one is that you can sort of play a very consistent style of play, and you'll gravitate towards your rating like a reversion to the mean. The other is if you have an extremely big, surprising result in one direction or another. We'll talk about Memphis later, but they're a great example of that. That you'll have one result that could really tank your rating or pop your rating in a significant way. And then in the immediate aftermath, without additional data points, our model might think that you are a team performing at one level when in reality you just had one hiccup. And so as you revert to the mean, your mean is a lot higher. Or if you know how to pop in the positive direction, maybe your mean is a lot lower. You see that with teams like Fresno State, who had some really good results early in the season but have really dropped off. They're probably, they're down around 100, I believe, in the model. They're probably where they belong at this point. But it is possible. I would say Washington State is one of those where 79 probably a little lower than they truly should be. And so it's about getting more data points to get them to where they need to be. But yeah, that's how you end up with some predictions that are really spot on and some, as we'll see as we get to the second page of games to watch for those watching on YouTube, that we thought would be close and really weren't.
Speaking of those games, number 46, Minnesota, gets absolutely boat raced, pun intended, by Iowa. Competitive rating of 25.6, one of the least competitive games of the week. Iowa looking like more than number 41.
Yeah, this is one of those instances where Iowa has had a couple of tough results, but now they come out and show that they really might be fourth best team behind the Big Three and the Big Ten, but they might be the next best, despite having some more losses on their resume than teams like Michigan or Washington.
Guys, I follow a college football YouTuber who's a big Minnesota Golden Gopher fan, and he was giving his week 9 recap, and how he opened up his video was he's sitting there and he says, "You might notice that for the first time this year, I'm not wearing any Golden Gopher gear." And he said, "This happens about once a year. They lay such an egg and tick me off so badly that I just have to take a step back and put all the gear away for a time." Oh, so tough loss for the Golden Gophers.
Mark Gronowski looking like an absolute baller. We'll talk more about him, but man, Iowa's got their guy at quarterback. Number 13 Missouri goes to number 10 Vanderbilt, loses 10-17, but loses their starting quarterback, something even worse than the loss. The competitive rating on this game was 100.6, one of the most competitive games this Saturday.
And I'll tell you what, it was competitive in a way that I did not expect. I did not expect that to be a total 27-point game. I would have far expected this to be like a 35-28. If you were telling me it was a one touchdown score, I would have guessed it would have been like 35-28. But this is a surprise to me that it was so low scoring. And that last touchdown came fairly late in the game, no less.
Surprises me you would say that, Spencer. As a Missouri Tiger fan, I thought you would
Whoa,
I thought you would know how staunch of a defensive line they have and how great of a run stopping defense they have.
I mean, if we're just gonna assume that I'm a big old Missouri Tigers fan here, I'll counter that and say that they could put up some points. And we know Vanderbilt can. But, like, are you telling me you think Missouri's defense is better than LSU's? I mean, I guess they are. Well,
Absolutely, they are. At least they perform better.
I mean, you should be telling me this, Spencer. I should not have to be educating you about your Missouri Tigers.
my Missouri Tigers.
All in all, 2 road games in a row proved to be too much for the Missouri Tigers.
Oh, sweet.
Oh,
revenge.
did you guys
I have
see?
no pity for them.
Did you guys see all the talk in the lead up to that slate of SEC games? Because there are some good ones. We'll talk about results later. But did you see all the talk about the back-to-back road games in the SEC and how, like, last year, like, 6 teams had it and all 6 of them lost that second game? And so there's a lot of chatter about, like, oh, are the road teams all going to lose their second game because doing 2 road games is so hard in the SEC? And it didn't happen. The better team won each time. So regardless of home or away, there's a lot of chatter for not a lot of results, except this one, I guess.
Number 109 gets beat by Wyoming, number 114, 28-0. Blanked them. Competitive rating of 49.8, a miss.
Oh, I thought Colorado State was supposed to do a little bit better, but they've already fired their coach. One of many, it turns out. But hey, if you're Colorado State's AD, you've got to be feeling good about your buyout relative to some of the other numbers being bandied about.
Absolutely. Lastly, number 35 Houston beats number 30 Arizona State 24-16. The competitive rating was a 68.8. Although the model didn't see this as a competitive game, the furious comeback by Arizona State at the end made it feel competitive.
Well, that's the thing here is the model doesn't just watch one quarter. It watches all 4. And if you had turned that game off, like at the end of the third quarter, I wouldn't have blamed you. Arizona State scored all 16 of its points in the fourth quarter, and it was not enough to mount a comeback. It was too little too late. But they got a touchdown, a field goal, and a touchdown, and honestly almost came back. Like, I thought they would have it, but they played 15 minutes of football, and Houston played a full 60, and that's what that competitive rating reflects. I will say, though, that even in that fourth quarter comeback, Houston's probability to win only dropped to 93.9%. That was the lowest it got.
Valid. So in week 9, the model was 5 for 8 on predicting competitive games. That's a 62% accuracy rating for the season. We are 71% in predicting competitive games. At the end of the show, we will preview week 10 games to watch. These are the teams that fell out of the S&D 50 in week 10. We'll go through them one at a time. At number 78, down 40 spots, UConn loses to Rice in double overtime, 37-34.
Wow. 40 spots. Wow, the model really punished UConn for losing their third game, and all 3 games have come in 3 overtimes. UConn is just as close to 5-3 as they are to 7-0 right now. 8-0.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're not 8-0.
They're not. They don't know how to close it out at the end, and it breaks my heart. I want to see these Yukon Huskies come through, because an 8-0 Yukon Husky team would be throwing all sorts of wrenches into the college football world right now.
I don't even know where you would put an 8-0 Yukon team.
In the
'Cause, like,
playoffs, baby.
8-0. I mean, the we're talking about a playoff committee that basically only already has respect for two leagues, and we think they're gonna go up on an independent. I mean, like, those three losses, by the way, are to the heavyweights of Syracuse, Delaware, and Rice. No disrespect to those Blue Hens, we love you here, but I mean, their toughest game on their entire schedule has got to be what, Duke, who they haven't actually played yet.
And it'll be a game I will be tuning into. All right.
Absolutely.
Yukon Huskies they'll be back. Let's go, boys. You dropped 40 spots in the S&D 50. You can climb back up.
Well, they got to play the Fighting Not Trent Dilfers anymore out of UAB this weekend. So we'll see how that goes for them.
That's not an easy game.
Clearly, UAB showed us that last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, the team starts playing inspired ball once Trent Dilfer gets canned.
Oh, man. It is so one way or the other, though, isn't it? You got UAB on one end going out and pulling major upsets, and then on the other side, you got Oklahoma State, who loses Mike Gundy and somehow gets worse.
Sleepwalking. Speaking of losing horribly, at number 64, down 20 spots, Colorado loses to Utah 53-7.
I'm hearing rumors after that loss that Dion's done with coaching after this year. Like, just done. Like, with the health issues that he's had. This is straight up rumors, but after that loss, I've been hearing that. So
3-5 is not a good start to the season.
No, and it didn't help that was almost all of those points, like 40 something of them were in the first half. Like, they were at 43-0 at halftime.
At number 61, down 18 spots, Kansas loses to Kansas State 42-17. Spencer called this last week. Kansas State gets their revenge, gets on the right side of the winning column. Kansas slides.
Kansas State, man. They and Kansas now share the same record. And despite Kansas State having a slow start, we'll actually talk about them in a minute. You know, spoilers, I guess, but we'll talk about Kansas State in a minute.
You know, ever since Andy Kotelnicki left to go to Penn State a couple years ago, Jalen Daniels and that Kansas offense just hasn't quite been able to put it all together. And it makes you think if there's a way that they can get him back since James Franklin's is out of Penn State.
If you're a Jayhawks fan, you really hope so. At number 58, down 12 spots, Minnesota. They lose to Iowa 41-3.
We've already talked about that boat race.
Yeah, Minnesota fans are putting their gear into storage right now.
They're wondering why they row the boat when Iowa can just come out there and throw an engine on the back and roar past them.
Preparing for hibernation in winter. At number 56, down 6 spots, Mississippi State loses to Texas 45-38 in overtime. A true heartbreak and a game Mississippi State absolutely should have won.
Mississippi State can't catch a break. And their games all this year have been close. They've been in them. It's looked like they've had a shot at the end or in the lead in the fourth, and it just all slips away every week in and week out.
Spencer, why did teams drop out of the S&D 50 when on a bye?
Drop out of the S&D 50 because they got passed. This is the beauty of this model. And maybe, you might say it's not, but if you're on a bye, why would you get credit? Credit for doing nothing? It's my biggest pet peeve about the AP poll is that not playing is sort of like a pass to stay where you are. If a team below you gets a great win, they should probably pass you. And that's what's happening here. Hawaii and ECU both drop out because they were on byes and got passed by some teams that had some great wins.
Thank you, Spencer. Here are honorable mentions for Week 10. Teams that did not make the S&D 50 that we still want to talk about. At number 100, up 17 spots, Wyoming beats Colorado State 28-0.
So this was a big win for Wyoming, winning the border war and getting the bronze boots back over on their side. With Wyoming, they've been in a bit of a transition period. They had a new head coach take over after their longtime coach, Craig Bull, retired, one of the best to ever coach at Wyoming. So his defensive coordinator took over, Jay Sawvel, and he went 3-9 last year. And I know it had me questioning if this truly was the man to lead the Cowboys. But here they are now at 4-4, getting a big win over Colorado State and looking like they could potentially make a bowl game, which I would call a big time success for the Cowboys after how badly they looked last year. They do finish off with a tougher schedule, though, in the Mountain West. They got San Diego State, Fresno, Nevada, and Hawaii. I think Fresno and Nevada are very winnable. San Diego and Hawaii, tough ones. But excited to see what their future can hold, especially if they make a bowl game this year.
Number 93, up 13 spots, Missouri State beats New Mexico State 24-17 in overtime.
Guys, is the FBS at the lower levels really much better than the FCS at the higher levels? Because Missouri State is in their first year and they're 4-3. They have a winning record, and Missouri State has only had 6 winning records since the year 2000. They've only ever had 1 conference title. This team is not a traditionally good team, and when they announced that they were moving up into the FBS ranks, there was a lot of people questioning why they would do that, what was their motives, and how badly were they going to get beaten on a week in and week out basis. That's not happening. 4-3, 2-1 in Conference USA. They got Bobby Petrino's son-in-law coaching them, Ryan Beard, who took over for Bobby Petrino, who coached them the previous 3 seasons leading up to that. And not only are they doing that, they're doing it on a very low budget. Ryan Beard is the second lowest paid head coach in all the FBS.
Who's the lowest?
The head coach of Kent State.
Shocker.
I can't remember his name. Yeah, shocker.
If you know who the head coach of Kent State is and how much he makes, put it in the comments, because it's probably more than any of us make anyway.
LSU wishes they had that problem this week. They do not. At number 67, up 26 spots in the model, New Mexico at 5-3 beats Utah State 33-14.
How about New Mexico coming for revenge on their 1-season head coach?
They get it.
That's a big time win. They were out for blood on Saturday with Bronco Mendenhall returning after bouncing after 1 year, after promising that he was going to lead them back, to respectability in the college football world. And now they got an even better coach who put the beat down on Bronco. And this dude Jason Eck is embracing Albuquerque. They're putting out videos of him going to restaurants, handing out tickets. Their attendance is up. They love this man. And the only fear is if he sticks around for more than 1 year.
You got to pay him.
The sheer number of job openings available should frighten any fan of the Lobos.
Seriously.
At number 65, up 6 spots, Jacksonville State. Yes, they were on a bye last week. They're 5-3. They just beat Delaware. Look out, CUSA.
Guys, Jacksonville State, they just had Rich Rod there coaching them, who got them the Conference USA championship last year. Now, Rich Rod goes back to West Virginia. They lose a flood of players with him leaving. But Jacksonville State is a program that values being good, that values winning football, because they went out and they got one of the highest paid head coach in Conference USA, second highest. Liberty's head coach is making $5 million, by the way. Holy wow. Anyways.
Whoa.
Yeah, for a Conference USA school, that's insane. But Jacksonville State, they're paying Charles Kelly $1 million a year. And Charles Kelly's got some pedigree to him. Former defensive coordinator at Florida State. He was at Florida State when they won the national title. He was their special teams coordinator back then. He also was the defensive coordinator, co-defensive coordinator at Alabama when they won the national title in 2020. He was a defensive coordinator at Auburn last year. The dude has pedigree. The dude has been around a lot of good coaches, and he's showing that as Jacksonville State sits atop Conference USA right now.
At number 60, up 8 spots, the Temple Owls beat Tulsa 38-37 in overtime.
This is a closer game than Temple fans or Temple players, Temple itself, are comfortable with. Man, that was one of at least 2 games this week where the winning team won off of a missed 2-point attempt in overtime by the opponent to try and take it from them. So kudos to their defense for that goal line stand on the 2-point conversion. Kudos to Temple for putting together a 5-3 season right after feeling like, you lose a coach, you're trying to get a program that can compete in what has turned into almost like the next power conference in the American. To see them 3-1 in league play right now, it's a good start for the Owls.
I'm excited to see them crack the top 50 at some point this year.
They're so close.
So close.
Here's the challenge. If you're Temple, you're 60 right now, and you're trying to crack the 50, your next 4 games, none of them are gimmies. You got ECU this weekend, at Army, and then you play Tulane and at North Texas, 2 of the 4 best teams in the league, to end the year. That is what's going to potentially trip them up. Now, if they win one of those 4, they are bowl eligible. And that has got to be a win from the perspective of Temple. But they're hungry for more. And if they can win 2, especially if they can win the next 2, they're going to be in the 50.
Those will be some really good games. Here are our biggest movers from Week 9 to Week 10 in the S&D 50 model. Teams that dropped the most. Fresno State at number 104 dropped 22 spots. Northwestern at 53 dropped 22 spots. Cal dropped 23 spots. They're currently at number 88. At number 112, down 29 spots, is Buffalo. UConn, number 78, down 40 spots. Our biggest movers on the upside, Arkansas State, Butch Jones's Red Wolves, at number 98, up 17 spots. Western Kentucky at 76, up 18 spots. Miami, Ohio, at number 54, up 18 spots. At number 62, up 19 spots, Washington State. And at number 67, up 26 spots, Jason X, New Mexico Lobos.
Now, Western Kentucky's on here. They had a big upward jump. You know who they beat? Also in overtime? Louisiana Tech. And what's interesting about this game, and kudos to Western Kentucky, kudos to the Hilltoppers for doing it, they actually did convert their 2-point attempt to win that game. They got the touchdown. They were the second team to go as well. They decided to go for 2 to try and put it away, and they succeeded. If you're a fan of Cal, hard to see them compete so well in the ACC, and yet here they are sliding down again to 88.
Jacob, do you have anything to say? Jacob, do you have anything to say for your California Golden Bears not being 12-0?
Our big Cal fan here, right? We're just assigning fandoms.
Spencer, thank you for your sweet words, your kind words, recognizing the pain that us Golden Bears are feeling at this time, knowing that 12-0 was on the table and now it's all slipping away.
That was a great take. I will never forget that. I love it. I don't hate that take was made. I'm so glad it was made.
Oh, trust me, it was on the table, guys. It was.
The S&D 50 Week 10. It's time to unveil the top 50.
Before we get into the S&D 50, I just want to say one more time, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. If you're interested, by the way, we pull those honorable mentions, the biggest movers. There are some actual big movers in the 50 we didn't talk about. We don't like to spoil that early. But if you love numbers 51 to 136, come find us on Patreon. You can throw $1 to the show, support us a little bit, and we'll give you the full 136 every week, including ratings for all of the past weeks.
Thank you to each and every one of our current Patreon members for joining. The S&D 50 Week 10. Time to unveil it, my friends. Teams 46 through 50. At number 50, up 8 spots, the Auburn Tigers. They beat Arkansas 33-24. They are back in the S&D 50. Welcome, Auburn.
This feels like a very Florida situation, though, where the team wins, and I don't know if the hot seat got any cooler for Hugh Freeze.
Well, he's opened up the QB competition. We don't know who's starting for them this week. Ashton Daniels actually came in when they were down 21-10, helped spur the comeback. And he says they're opening up between him as well as Deuce Knight, their 5-star freshman, who Hugh Freeze says is the future. And of course, you got Jackson Arnold there.
Jackson Arnold, man. I feel like every time I watch him, he's getting sacked. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. Great quarterbacks get sacked with bad protection, but that just hurts. Just hurts.
Well, if he wouldn't have got hosed by the referees against Georgia, he might have had a little more pedigree, but
this team should absolutely be 5-3. I agree with you there.
At least one of those games should have gone their way. At number 49, up 5 spots, Memphis at 7-1, beat USF in a great game, 34-31. Memphis back in the S&D 50.
Back in the S&D 50, but not in the top 25. The AP's got them back at 25 because the AP just can't figure it out. I just don't know. Like, Memphis, yeah, they're 7-1, and they could shoot up quickly again. They've got good games remaining on their schedule, but that loss to UAB was really atrocious.
And you look at Memphis's overall resume, and you just can't help but compare it to Tulane. And same record, same conference. And I look at Tulane, and I'm like, and we'll talk about them more. They're higher up in the SND. But I'm just like, how do the AP voters think that Memphis is more deserving than Tulane? It blows my mind.
To me, the problem lies into what Spencer always calls stack bias. Correct, Spencer?
Yeah.
If you beat a team that the AP poll put in the top 25, USF, this poll did not see USF as a top 25 team, then they feel inclined to put a team like Memphis in the top 25. The consequences of that decision is now, if Memphis doesn't perform to the 25th best team in the country when they're actually closer to 49, as seen by our model, then people say, oh, the group of five is no good. The group of five shouldn't have a playoff team. But could it be, friends, that the wrong group of 5 teams are getting credit?
Yeah, this is an interesting thing, is I feel like AP voters see all group of 5 opponents as being of the same quality, unless someone has already, as you pointed out, arbitrarily designated them as a ranked team.
At number 48, up 8 spots, Kennesaw State. They're 5-2, beat FIU 45-26. This is their first time in the S&D 50. Welcome, Kennesaw State.
First time ever in the SND 50, second year in existence as an FBS program. This is historic, guys. I feel like we need to celebrate Kennesaw State making this jump into the top 50.
At the very least, we got to get like a soundbite or something that plays every time we read in a new team in the 50.
I want to change the Kennesaw State logo on here to Plank from Ed, Ed, and Eddie, and just put the Plank as their logo, because that's what I think of when I think of Kennesaw State. That was their turnover chain back in the heyday of turnover chains.
Did you hear how that even started?
No.
one of their players went on spring break out in Florida or whatever, found an old piece of wood floating in the water and was like, hey, this looks like plank off of Ed, Ed, and Eddie. Drew a face on it, brought it to football, and one day he just, I don't know how, he had it at a game against Montana State, and they got a big turnover, and he just walks over to the guy who created the turnover and gives him the plank and says, here's the turnover plank. And lo and behold, Plank was born. And now they dress him up like before the games and things. And Plank is here at Kennesaw State, and here they are at top 50.
Every week, Kennesaw State is in the S&D 50. They will get a plank icon next to their team name every week going forward. Spencer will make that happen.
We're going to put it in. It's coming.
How
Plank,
they don't have
plank,
Plank's helmet stickers.
Plank.
Also, one quick shout out. This is Kennesaw State's first road game win in, I think it was like a 12 or a 13 game road game losing streak, which is, it's very Missouri of them to be, have 4 road games in their first 6 before they had to go on the road again after dropping their first 2. But I'll point this out. We pointed out before, Kennesaw State lost to Wake Forest in week 1 on the road 10-9. And then they got blown out by Indiana. They got blown out by Indiana by nearly the same margin UCLA did. So Kennesaw State is not a bad team. They've just been overlooked. And I'm shocked that 5-2, they're not at least getting a little bit more national media attention.
To get their first road win at Pitbull Stadium, no less. Shout out to the Fightin' Planks and to the alternate uniform committee at Kennesaw State. You know how the Hilltoppers just have the eyes for the logo, for the mascot at Western Kentucky? I want a plank helmet at Kennesaw State with just the plank smile right on the helmet. It'd almost be Joker-like, but, here we are. At number 47, down 21 spots, SMU loses to that Wake Forest team that was mentioned, 13-12. Wake Forest has now won games scoring 13-12 against SMU and 10-9 against Kennesaw State.
This has got to be a case of looking ahead, right? If you're SMU.
Wake Forest is good.
No, I think this is who SMU is. And honestly, I think this is who SMU was last year. They just got lucky. I mean, you can't say lucky for every game, but SMU's good, but they're not a playoff team.
Well, we know that now for sure. But that third loss, I think, knocked them squarely out of contention. And, I mean, even if you look at the ACC standings right now, this is actually, fun fact, this is SMU's first loss in league play in the regular season, which means that SMU has a longer ACC regular season winning streak. Even though it just ended, that winning streak is longer than any ACC win streak Florida State has ever had. But they're now 1 loss, and in the conference column, 3 losses overall. I think you're out of playoff contention at this point, unless you win the title. The league title, and I don't know if they're even going to make the game.
At number 46, up 1 spot, Iowa State loses to BYU 41-27. We will get to the Cougars, but for the Cyclones, this was a devastating game. They had a lead, they let it slip. They're decimated by injuries. Iowa State at 46.
Iowa State can't catch a break. Like you said, Andrew, they're decimated by injuries. They did get a couple players back for this game against BYU, and they came out hot. I was watching that game. They were dominating, but they just let a couple plays go that kept BYU in. I feel like they were 2 or 3 plays away in that first half of blowing the doors off of BYU and the game being over at halftime. But they let BYU hang around, and it came back to bite them in the butt.
That was a hot start. Iowa State was up 24-10, but something happened, a couple of turnovers, a change of mentality, maybe some steam for BYU, but BYU finished that game on a 31-3 run, and that's what put away the Cyclones.
At number 45, up 12 spots, San Diego State. They're 6-1. They beat Fresno State 23-0, and they are new to the S&D 50. Welcome, San Diego State.
It's about dang time. I've been waiting for San Diego State to crack the top 50. I feel like the model's had something against the Aztecs, but they're here. A shutout against Fresno. And San Diego State is looking like they are the top contenders to Boise State to win the Mountain West. It is going to be exciting to see what happens with them down the stretch.
And they've been close. They've been hovering in the 50s. It's fun to see them actually jump in.
And speaking of San Diego State, their head coach, Sean Lewis, his first head coaching job was at our favorite university, Kent State, where he coached from 2018 to 2022. The guy was 31 years old when he was made the head coach at Kent State. He was the youngest FBS head coach at that time. And he took Kent State and they won their first ever bowl game under Sean Lewis. So now here he is, year 2 at San Diego State. Year 1 was rough. He took a gap year in between that, being the OC of Shadir Sanders there at Colorado. But man, all these coaching vacancies opening up. You just hope as an Aztec fan seeing this start that you can keep Sean Lewis around.
Yeah, circle that date on November 15th for when they host Boise State. That'll be like a preview of Pac-12 After Dark. They're both joining the Pac. I don't know if it's going to still be called the Pac-12, but they're both joining that conference next year.
Boise wants nothing to do with San Diego State right now. I think they're scared of them.
Number 44, up 20 spots. Spencer's Kansas State Wildcats. They beat Kansas 42-17. They are back in the S&D 50 after a very treacherous start to the year.
Love to see this team streaking. I would say they're the best 4-4 team out there right now, which I guess, that's maybe not that hot of a take. They're actually not the highest rated 4-loss team, funnily enough, though I think that has to do with the quality of teams that they've lost to. Some of those 4 losses are pretty bad. We love to see Kansas State roaring back, remembering that they actually have a great team and a great quarterback in Avery Johnson. Fun to see the Wildcats here. Really interested to see what they do this week. They play Texas Tech. That'll be a big time opportunity for them to really throw a wrench in the already wide open Big 12 championship race.
At number 43, up 10 spots, Nebraska beats Northwestern 28-21. Nebraska back in the S&D 50.
Playoffs still aren't out of the picture. Being in the Big Ten and only 2 losses and looking at Nebraska's schedule going forward, it's tough, but not out of the picture.
I mean, do they control their own destiny? That's the question to me. I don't think they do.
What would the committee keep out a 2-loss Big Ten team? A 10-2 Big Ten team?
Who does Nebraska have remaining on the schedule?
They host USC this weekend. Then they have road games at UCLA and Penn State before finishing out at home against Iowa. I mean, that gives you the chance to have 2 probably ranked wins, because USC is ranked this weekend by the AP. I mean, Iowa, they actually, we'll talk about them in a minute. They still have to play Oregon and USC, so depending on how those games go, they may not be ranked. But yeah, if Nebraska wins out, they'll be 10-2. I still don't know that gets you an at-large spot if your competition are 2-loss SEC teams, a 2-loss Notre Dame, or 1-loss Miami who didn't make the ACC title game, right? Like, it's just a little bit too crowded in a field of 12, but really in a field of 7 at-large spots to assume that a 10-2 Nebraska specifically could make the playoffs.
Don't tell Cornhusker Nation that, Spencer.
I'm sorry. The path is very narrow. What they could use is a little bit of help to get, I don't think they have the chance to get into the title game, but I think that they could use some help specifically from the SEC, because I do think the committee would take a 2-loss Big Ten team over a 3-loss SEC team. But we'll see.
If you're a Nebraska fan, this is welcome chatter that you have not heard for decades.
Unless you're listening to Josh Pate, who still has him had him in his like mid-season projection as the 11 seed.
At number 42, up 9 spots, the Pitt Panthers beat NC State 53-34. Pitt, new to the S&D 50. We had them as an honorable mention a few weeks ago, delivering on all fronts.
They've been starting a freshman quarterback the last 4 games who has gone 4-0 since taking over. Mason Heinschel has thrown for over 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns in the last 4 games. The dude has lit a fire under the team.
He threw for more than 400 yards against NC State alone. Now, they have to face Stanford in what is always a tricky game when you have to fly across the country for an afternoon Eastern time kickoff. I mean, that's basically a lunchtime game. So we'll see if that, ever-developing travel curse plagues them like it did Florida State, like it did USC when they traveled to Illinois. Like, I think that true cross-country travel is really rough. So we'll see if they can stand up against Stanford on the road.
Number 41, down 19 spots. The South Florida Bulls lose to Memphis 34-31. We had many people in our comments telling us that we had South Florida too low. South Florida's the best group of 5 team. South Florida was good, but this loss to Memphis, not so good.
This actually surprises me. The model didn't want to show respect to South Florida when they were winning, and now they lose, and the model shows respect by only dropping them 19 spots.
And still ahead of Memphis.
Yes, it's still ahead of Memphis. When I saw this, I just started laughing because you guys heard me last week saying I thought the model was wrong on South Florida. And then the model says, oh, you lose to Memphis. That's okay. We'll still keep you in the top 50.
For anyone who watched the game, I think that the announcer's curse was completely in play against South Florida's kicker. The announcer took 30 seconds explaining how South Florida's kicker comes from a lineage of kickers who have these great legs and they hit game-winning walk-off field goals, game-tying field goals, and then he shanks it wide left. Brutal for South Florida.
That was a good competitive game. I love how everyone counted out Memphis after Memphis lost to UAB. I mean, we really tanked Memphis in the ratings for losing to UAB. But, yeah, South Florida lost to a more respectable foe, to Memphis themselves, and didn't fall nearly as far.
At number 40, down 10 spots, Arizona State. They lose to Houston 24-16. Arizona State is so hot and so cold. I get this, I get that the Sam Levitt injury plays a huge factor, but this team is Jekyll and Hyde.
They cannot catch a break. Getting blown out by Utah, turning around the huge win, turning around with a heartbreak loss. I mean, I guess this week you bet the Sun Devils, don't you? They already had their off game. Time for them to be on again.
They're due. At number
it's Iowa
30,
State, no less. Sorry. And that game is at Iowa State. We'll talk about it later.
At number 39, down 21 spots, Illinois. They lose to Washington 42-25. Another example of a cross-country journey that is not advantageous for the road team.
I was talking about playoff hopes being alive for Nebraska. They are dead for Illinois.
Still a good team, but yes, they are out of the running for anything of note. And the model had them at number 2 to start the year, so disappointing for the Illini. At number 38, Wake Forest. They beat SMU 13-12. They are new to the S&D 50. Welcome, Wake Forest.
Did you guys see how close that field goal was to being missed?
No.
It was a 50-yarder that they kicked as time expired to win that game. And it was so close to being short that it didn't hit the upright, so I'll give him that much credit. But it was falling so fast, so downward, that after it went through, it hit the center post.
Holy.
Where the goalpost comes up.
Oh, like the bend behind it?
Yeah, the center post directly behind it.
Oh, sheesh.
It dropped right onto that, like near the bottom of it. It was falling just flat down.
Wake Forest has won and lost by the tiniest of margins. It just makes you wonder if you're a Wake Forest fan. Had you beat Georgia Tech, where would you be?
And I'll give you guys credit. Andrew, I think you in specific was telling me that the teams in the ACC needed to watch out for Wake Forest, and this was when Wake Forest was 2-2.
Beauty of the model. The model's on it early, and when I see it reward performances like Wake Forest is having, gotta note it, and here they are. At number 37, up 5 spots, UNLV, they were on a bye. And at number 36, up 4 spots, Duke, they were on a bye. Spencer, we mentioned earlier that teams fall out of the S&D 50 on a bye, ECU and Hawaii. Why does Duke and UNLV go up spots when on a bye?
I mean, it's all the teams we just talked about that had big drops. I mean, you can almost count them, but it's SMU, Illinois, Arizona State, all these teams that have slid from the upper echelons of the 50, really from the top 25. Those are the teams that are falling down. And this isn't a stack rank thing where we think like their ratings shouldn't be adjusted. Their ratings changed. Duke's rating went up 22 points. UNLV's rating went up 27 points. Funnily enough, they're within 1 rating point of each other. And Wake Forest is only 5 rating points behind UNLV. That gap is very tight in this stretch. I mean, just the gap between Duke and Illinois is 11 rating points. And Duke has 5,300 for a sense of scale. So it's just about what you do each week. And then you rank them. And sometimes you slide and sometimes you fall, even if you're not playing, because we have that past opponent adjustment in there where you get or lose credit depending on how your past opponents do in their games.
And so in the case of Duke and UNLV, past opponents win. They're on a bye. They slide up.
Yep. You're going to see the same thing with Georgia when we get up there because of their win against Ole Miss and then having Ole Miss turn around and win their game.
At number 35, up 4 spots, North Texas at 7-1. Beats Charlotte 54-20. Drew Mestamaker put on a passing clinic. Dare I say, looked like he was running the Manning camp by himself out there, throwing for 600 yards.
Insane.
And North Texas, in my opinion, I've said this before, I'd like them to make the American title game. Their remaining 4 games, Navy, big one this week. But then it's UAB, Rice, and Temple. It's easier compared to the likes of what South Florida and Navy and Memphis have to face in their final stretch. I like North Texas to potentially come out of the American and vie for that G5 playoff spot.
Problem is, I don't think they control their own destiny. You know, they play Navy, so they would have a tiebreaker with 1-loss Navy. They play Temple, so they would knock them out that would be their second loss. They don't play ECU, who's a 1-loss team. They already lost to South Florida, so if South Florida wins out, they lose that tiebreaker. They don't play Memphis, who's a 1-loss team, and they don't play Tulane, who's unbeaten in league play. So despite the fact that I agree with you and I would love to see them make it, I think they need chips to fall in their favor elsewhere in the league.
And they will. They will, because those other teams are all facing each other and beating each other up. I just don't think they'll come out unscathed. I think 1 loss in the American will get you in the title game.
The even bigger problem, if you're a North Texas fan, is if you can hold on to Eric Morris through this coaching cycle. Because if North Texas does make that title game, you better start praying, North Texas, that no one knows how good your coach is.
For real.
At number 34, down 5 spots, LSU. They lose to Texas A&M 49-25, but they lose $54 million and a head coach more. Brian Kelly fired after this game.
I don't know why they fired him. I mean, I understand all the reasons to choose to fire Brian Kelly, but I don't know why they fired him right now. Like, who are you going to put in as the interim coach? What is this going to do to your team chemistry? Like, do you really expect that to make a difference in your game against Alabama? At this point, you're 5-3 LSU. To an LSU faithful, the season is over. Which, what a world to be in where 5-3 is the end of the world. But I don't know. I would have at least held on to him for one more game. Maybe let him potentially save his job with the Tide upset. But now, I mean, this season's down and out for the Tigers. I don't even know if they're going to put up a fight against Alabama.
But the future looks bright because recently Ed Orgeron has come out and said he wants to get back into coaching.
Oh, dear.
Bring
I mean,
him
would they
back,
take him?
baby. Bring him back.
They didn't take him for the hire.
I'm sure they'll interview. Listening to the Cover 3 podcast, I'll give them credit here. Do you know who the defensive coordinator was of Notre Dame in 2017, Jacob? Mike Elko. Do you know who the defensive coordinator was at Notre Dame from 2018 to 2020, Jacob? Clark Lee. The two teams LSU just lost to, Vanderbilt and Texas A&M, were coached by former defensive coordinators of Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. They unseat him from his job. Just brutal.
Rough spot to be in if you're a Tigers fan.
And this leads me to one more question. Guys, are we going to keep doing these massive buyouts and guaranteed contracts of head coaches?
It's just boggling to me how much money is being put into NIL, and yet they can still pay these buyouts. Because I know in a lot of these buyouts, it's not the school paying it. It's boosters, it's donors, it's the diehard rich alumni that hates the head coach so badly and wants to see their team win so much that they'll pony up all that money to just get them out of town. I guess in the world of college football, there's a lot of money to go around.
It's insane. And this is one of the highest buyouts ever. You have Jimbo Fisher, you have James Franklin, you have Brian Kelly. 3 of the highest buyouts of all time.
You know, the AD at LSU, Scott Woodward, was the AD at Texas A&M when they hired Jimbo Fisher.
And we were laughing about Virginia Tech's buyout just at the beginning of the year. And what was that, like 20 mil?
Yeah, and
That
they're laughing
looks like
about
pennies.
UCLA's buyout. And that was what, 9 million?
I know, right?
It's pennies. It's pennies.
It's so true. Also, these buyouts, can you imagine working a job where they say, if you work less, we'll pay you 90% of what you make the next 5 years? That's a good deal for
Just to
anyone.
leave.
Great deal.
Just to go away. Being a fired head football coach, especially of these top tier blue blood programs, is the place to be.
I saw a tweet, and I want to give credit. It's a CBS Sports reporter. I cannot think of his name, but tweeted that the total buyout so far this year is like $167 million
Holy
in
moly.
just buyout money.
And here's what's even more crazy, Spencer. The FCS team that I follow and am a diehard fan in is in desperate need of a new head coach. And they won't fire him or buy him out because the buyout is $300,000 and they say they can't afford it.
Oh, it's the disparity of the haves and the have-nots in this sport.
That's so crazy. To think about the fact that Kelly signed a 10-year deal with LSU that included a 90% guarantee on his $95 million salary over that period. Like, that's where this buyout comes from, is that guarantee. Apparently, they're still working on the details, but apparently it could be paid out to him monthly for the next, 6 years.
Bobby Bonilla Day all over again. LSU is number 34 in the S&D 50. They are good. So whoever gets this job, if they can hold on to the roster, they can turn this around really quick, a la Kurt Signetti style.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Kurt Signetti, James Madison's at number 33, up 4 spots. They're 6-1. They're on a bye this week.
On a bye and receiving votes in the AP poll.
That's awesome. At number 32, up 1 spot, on a bye, the Florida Gators without Billy Napier.
This is the mystery team to me. I'll be honest. Sometimes things in our model surprise me. Sometimes they align with what my thinking is, and I love to see it. I don't get this one. And I'll have to go in and take a look. Florida started pretty high in our model, but, they're a 3-4 team. And yet, they're in the top 35. And if you look at their ranks over time, this is a team that started at 7. And I'll just go through this week by week, starting from week 1. They were ranked 7th, 10th, 33rd. That was their first loss to USF. Then they lost to LSU, dropped to 58. Then they lost to Miami, dropped to 67, hovered around there at 72. And then they beat Texas, jump right back into the 50 again, up to 45, lose to Texas A&M, only go down to 48, beat Mississippi State, now they're back in the 30s. I don't understand why our model loves Florida so much. It's not like those were all close losses, too. They were all double digits except for USF.
We'll find out this week against Georgia what Florida's really made of.
That's true. That 5th loss, I think, will shoot them right back out.
At number 31, down 12 spots, Oklahoma loses to Ole Miss 34-26. Tough spot for the Sooners. You got to feel for them. They had everything in front of them. A difficult end of the year, a difficult end of the schedule. They're not off to a great second half so far.
You got to feel for John Mateer, too. I mean, the man was a legitimate Heisman contender and has just been beleaguered by injury, and trying to play through it, it never works. It's so hard to see.
At number 30, up 4 spots, Jacob's favorite team in this model, the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. They beat UL Monroe 49-21.
And looking in some Southern Miss Facebook threads, the fans are very worried about Charles Huff leaving after this year, because what he's doing is unprecedented, turning a 1-11 team now into bowl eligibility within 8 games at 6-2, and just boat racing the mini SEC, aka the Sun Belt.
They've got a bye week this week before going on the road to fight the Fighting Joneses of Jonesboro, Arkansas State. That's going to be a tough road test for them. They finish the season, though, against their Sun Belt West co-leader right now. Both teams are 4-0 in conference play. Troy. That's going to be basically a playing game. If it plays out as we expect, that'll be a playing game for the Sun Belt title matchup.
At number 29, TCU. They beat West Virginia by 6. They're up 7 spots. TCU's a head scratcher.
I think they're right where they should be, though.
Correct.
Yes. But, teams can't be perfect every game. Like, you're allowed to have an off game as long as you still get the W. And 29 feels right for the Horned Frogs. Like, it's a shame because they probably got a couple more losses on their schedule. They got a tough schedule to finish things off, but they are a respectable team.
I mean, their last 4 games are against teams that either are ranked or were ranked. That's Iowa State, BYU, Houston, and Cincinnati, with BYU and Houston on the road. That could be just 4 losses in a row if you're not careful.
Yeah, 3 of the top 4 teams in the Big 12 right there. They might only win one more game the rest of the year.
And their best shot at it is that home game against Iowa State after a bye this week.
Number 28, up 13 spots. The Iowa Hawkeyes. Boat race Minnesota 41-3. Iowa also a 6-2 team, but it feels so different compared to TCU. Iowa's on a bye. Oregon's on a bye. They're on a collision course for November 8th in Kinnick Stadium.
Well, I mean, here's what I'll say about Iowa and us is technically we do have them in the exact same spot. If you extrapolate out the votes, they're 29th. Or no, excuse me. We have them one spot higher. We have them 28th. They have Iowa 29th. But I think that it's inconsistent. I actually love to see the credit given to the Big 12 specifically by the AP poll this week. They have 5 Big 12 teams in the top 25. Awesome to see that conference getting more credit. They're America's conference. But Iowa, 6-2 Iowa's getting fewer votes than 6-2 Michigan. then 6-2 Texas, then 6-2 Missouri. Like, Iowa feels like they're at that level. I just don't know why they don't get respect from voters. Like, our model, it's not about respect. It's about that performance equation. And maybe the voters are taking a look at our model when they come across a team like Iowa that they don't understand and trying to guess where we're going to have them.
It's a lot of credit to us.
You never know. It would be better if any AP voters are listening to this show right now, reach out to us.
At number 27, up 5 spots, Texas. Another 6-2 team that doesn't feel like Iowa on the rise. Texas feels like a shaky 6-2. Like we said, escapes a near loss against Mississippi State in overtime, 45-38.
Second week in a row.
By the hair on their chinny chins.
I mean, the Bucks got to stop this weekend, though, right?
Yes, that's what I was about to say. It's got Diego Pavia has got to put a stop to this Texas nonsense and them being ranked in the AP.
I will say there was an ironic moment at the end of that Texas game. Arch goes down with the concussion, super sad. But does anyone know the number of the backup quarterback for Texas? Did you see the end of this game, guys?
Is it 18?
The Texas backup quarterback is wearing number 18, yet number 16, Arch Manning, goes down. It's a real trippy moment if you're a football guru, because Manning is 16, but then number 18 comes in, and that was Peyton Manning's number. And it's just all kind of Manning with the quarterback feels at Texas. And he played really well to end this game.
I haven't heard anything about if Texas, if Manning is going to be out of concussion protocol in time to play this game.
I'm not sure.
But tough to see him
Vandy
go
better
down.
hope so.
Yeah. The update from later this week, or from Coach Sark, is that they'll let everyone know later in the week. So I'm guessing it'll have to come out with the, if the SEC does injury reports, it'll have to come out there.
At number 26, up 19 spots, Washington beats Illinois 42-25.
This is another one that fans are outraged. Husky fans think that they are deserving to be top 25. But the SND has them just barely out of the top 25 as well. So a little more in line with the AP there as well.
Yeah.
Demond Williams is crushing it right now.
He's really good. Which, credit to Michigan's defense for bottling him up last week. We'll talk about Michigan in a minute, but he seems unstoppable right now.
At number 25, up 2 spots, USC. They were on a bye. This week, they have Nebraska.
I'm sorry, I just keep pointing this out, but there are a lot of similarities in this range with the AP and the SND, because I heard a lot of people outraged that USC jumped into the top 25 off of a bye, and they jump into the top 25 here as well off of a bye.
And for anyone listening, we do not use the AP poll at all to make this model. These just happen to track similarly, but the AP poll plays no factor in how we create our model.
We'll have to start putting in a little tag, though, on these slides. If you're watching on YouTube, this is the best way to see the graphics we put together, the teams ranked against each other. We have some details on their actual ratings that we don't talk about in the pod. But, yeah. We'll have to put a little tag in to show what their AP rank is, so you can see the difference as you go.
At number 24, up 4 spots, Tennessee beats Kentucky in dominant fashion, 56-34. They're currently number 14 in the AP poll this week.
Thank you, S&D. Thank you, S&D. Thank you, S&D. This is where the Volunteers deserve to be right now.
How many wins do they have against teams above Power 4 teams above 500?
0.
They have won 6 games, but we need to see it against teams over 500. At number 23, down 10 spots, Missouri loses to Vanderbilt 17-10. They're on a bye. They have a lot to work on this week as a team as they try to move forward without Bo Pribula.
Yeah, I think this is another team, actually. 0 wins over Power 4 teams with winning records. They have a bye week, as you mentioned, but Texas A&M is their next game. That is
Brutal.
so brutal. I mean, you're gone. Your quarterback's out. I don't even know what you. That's such a hard spot to be in the middle of the season, bye week or no.
And our model does not factor in injuries, so it's not projecting into the future what Missouri is going to be. But this is where Missouri lies right now. We will see if they can maintain. At number 22, up 1 spot, Navy 7-0 beats FAU 42-32.
They're ranked. Navy fans, come here. We have you in the top 25. And Blake Horvath, guys, is on the verge of becoming yet again a 1,000-yard passer and a 1,000-yard rusher this year, which he did last year. And, I've been thinking a lot about Navy lately because I've heard I've heard what everyone is saying about them, with them being like, oh, they're just barely scraping by all these lower tier teams. They haven't beat anybody yet. Yes, their strength of schedule probably isn't the best, but they have got 7 wins, 0 losses, and Navy doesn't exactly play in a fashion that will blow you out on the scoreboard. They're a suffocating team. And so I'm really interested how this North Texas Navy matchup is going to pan out. Because initially I want to say North Texas is going to win, and they'll win convincingly. But Navy can suffocate you slowly. And if they do that to North Texas this week, people need to start showing some respect to this Naval Academy.
Is Blake Horvath the American Conference's version of Haynes King?
I mean, the runny quarterback on the winningest team?
Gritty.
Fun to watch.
Yep.
Can do it on the ground and through the air.
Yep. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Andrew.
And everyone's loving Haynes King, so yeah, let's give Navy their credit.
What would it be like to see Navy represent the G5? What would it be like? Because I think the playoff announcement comes before. Doesn't it come before the Army-Navy game?
It does, but I think that they made a caveat to that last year. Now, Army ended up dropping a game late, and it didn't matter. But they made a caveat there.
It does not count
Army
as an American game.
Right. So if they're the league champion, but the thing is, it's also the highest ranked league champion. So I think last year they said something about like, if Army is the highest ranked league champion, they'll wait to like determine officially until after that game.
Oh, come on.
But I'd have to go look it up. If anyone knows.
How funny would it be if they invited Navy to be the G5 representative and then they lost to Army?
I mean, don't talk to Tulane. Tulane almost lost to Army, and don't talk to Kansas State. They lost to Army. Army's no joke.
But do talk to Tarleton State.
They did beat Army.
Tarleton, by the way, number 2 now in the FCS rankings.
Love to see it.
I would like to see Tarleton State play Missouri State.
Tarleton would win.
There we go. Navy at 7-0, huge game against North Texas. It's not one of our games of the week to watch, but please tune in. That will be a great game. At number 21, not moving anywhere, Miami. They beat Stanford convincingly 42-7. Stanford was an honorable mention last week. This was a good win for Miami.
Yeah, it felt like they didn't really show up in the first half, put them away in the second half. But again, Stanford wins on the road last week in Pac-12 after dark. I don't care what you say about conference. And then they have to turn around and travel across the country to play a day game against Miami. Like that, this whole schedule, people have got to take a serious look at this West Coast, East Coast conference situation because it is messing things up like mad.
But just to point out, big difference here in the S&D 50 rankings compared to the AP. Miami at number 21 and being tied for 10th in the AP this week. So 11 spot difference there.
How often do we get ties in the AP poll?
Super occasionally. I mean, probably once a year.
It's collusion. It's collusion.
We can't decide. We can't just pick one. Whatever. Just another thing that grinds my gears. Come on. Pick already. At number 20, up 5 spots, Utah. They're 6-2. They clobber Colorado 53-7.
What a bounce back game for the Utes after an emotional loss on the road at BYU. Good to see them put it together. Interestingly, they did not do this with their star transfer, paid a bunch of NIL money quarterback from New Mexico, Devin Dampier. They did it with their backup, with the most I love it. This is not meant to be offensive, but this is the most auction house cowboy sounded name you ever heard in your life.
Bird Ficklin.
Yep. Can you just imagine?
Bird Ficklin and Isaac Wilson at the end of the game come in and shut you down. Quite the turnaround for the Utes.
But here's the thing: did Utah bench Devin Dampier?
It appears
he
so.
dressed. He dressed. They said he was available in emergency situations. So meaning if Bird screwed it up, they would bring in Devin.
Man, he didn't screw it up. Bird's the word in Utah right now, in Salt Lake City.
He is. And it's blowing my mind because there was so much hype around Devin Dampier coming in, not only locally, but nationally. And here Bird runs for 150 yards, passes for 150 yards, and it sounds like they're already moving on from that, like you said, Spencer, that star transfer quarterback that was supposed to bring him to the playoffs this year.
Utah should only play at night. I repeat, Utah should only play at Rice Eccles at night. I will keep beating that drum while they keep clobbering good opponents at home at night. At number 19, up 16 spots, Houston at 7-1 beats Arizona State 24-16. Houston looking really good.
Houston looking good and looking like they might have one of the easier paths to win out of the top teams in the Big 12. They have West Virginia, UCF, TCU, and Baylor for their final 4 games. Houston has a real shot at making the Big 12 title game, and not a lot of people saw this coming.
Whoa, I did not know that was the end of their schedule. That's insane. That's doable.
It's so doable.
It's
TCU's
probably the
toughest.
easiest.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Houston, Dallas isn't that far away. That's great.
And you look at teams like BYU. BYU is the only undefeated Big 12 team. They still have to play Texas Tech in Cincinnati. So Houston might be sitting in a better position, even though they have one conference loss.
Houston, the North Texas of the Big 12.
Amen.
At number 18, up 2 spots, Virginia survives another week. They beat North Carolina 17-16.
I can't tell if I should give Virginia respect or call them pretenders. For respect for surviving or pretending for surviving.
Who did we say already lost 3 overtime games this year?
UConn.
UConn. Virginia has won
don't
3
diss
of them.
on them.
You win some, you lose some. In for Virginia, they win some.
For Virginia, you win them all.
The balance, it's the karma. They're taking up all that good karma.
You lose them all. Exactly.
At number 17, down 1 spot, Texas Tech gets demoted for shutting out Oklahoma State 42-0.
It wasn't bad enough.
It's
waving your shirts in the stands will not get you even credit for beating someone 42-0. Texas Tech essentially has a bye as they get ready to go to Manhattan, Kansas to play those pesky Wildcats.
I mean, they literally won that game. They got so little credit for winning that game. They got 11.7 points. And they lost 22 points in their past opponent adjustments because of Arizona State losing.
That's the beauty of the model, though. Again, you can be 7-1, but if you play a nobody, and where is Oklahoma State this week in the S&D 50?
In the S&D 50 this week, Jacob, you want to give a guess for that?
Go 129.
You are 1 off. It is 128. They are within 10 spots of UMass. So that gap between Oklahoma State and UMass, at 128 to 136, UMass is so bad that the gap there is the same gap between number 10 and number 50 in the S&D 50. Like that 500 points is a lot. So we're not saying Oklahoma State's the worst team out there, but they are about as bad as you can get. They are the second lowest rated Power 4 team. Any guesses on who the lowest rated team is at 130?
Boston College.
Boston College. You nailed it.
And if you beat Oklahoma State 42-0 in our model, not a lot of credit given. Texas Tech is currently at number 13 in the AP poll this week. At number 16, down 4 spots, Tulane, not ranked in the AP poll in week 10. We have them at 16. They were on a bye, and this week they have UTSA.
Yeah, Tulane only has one significant test left, and that's Memphis. They don't play USF. So again, speaking about American title chances, I mean, North Texas could win out, USF could win out, and Tulane could win out, and North Texas would be on the outside looking in.
Where's the SEC bias for Tulane? Memphis loses to UAB, and they get right back in the top 25 the next week. Tulane only losses to Ole Miss, and they can't sniff the top 25 cents.
Are they even getting votes?
Yes, they are. They are getting votes.
But that's a recent development. They weren't
Yes.
until very recently, like the last week or two.
They lost to Ole Miss, and it like the whole world wrote them off. And I think, I know the model might disagree because we have one G5 team higher than Tulane right now. I feel in my heart, the Jacob heart, that Tulane is the best G5 team right now and should represent the G5s as long as they win out.
I agree. At number 15, up 9 spots, Michigan beats Michigan State 31-20. And for me, this feels a little high for Michigan.
I don't know. I think Michigan at 6-2 is an extremely strong Big Ten team. I think that they have the chance to beat Ohio State in the game for what, the third year in a row? Was that what that would be?
5th year in a row.
5th year in a row. Man, I am not in tune with that rivalry. Sorry, Buckeye and Wolverine fans, but that I feel like Michigan's 2 losses don't really tell the whole story. This team has been very good. I mean, we were just talking about how Damon Williams at Washington is killing it, and Michigan bottled him up. You know, I think Michigan has a real shot at the playoffs as a 6-2 Big Ten team, a better shot than Nebraska. Sorry, Jacob.
Another thing I heard on the Cover 3 podcast, if Brian Kelly had kept Bryce Underwood, they speculate that Brian Kelly probably keeps his job and he's not fired this year. Bryce Underwood is the player to be watching with this Michigan team. As he goes, they go. And if he can play anywhere near the ceiling that's projected as a freshman, they're right in it. At number 14, same rating as last week. Unranked in the AP poll in week 10, Boise State. They are the highest ranked group of 5 team in the S&D 50 model this week. They beat Nevada 24-3.
Boise's a hard team to get a read on. Great defense, offense that is sporadic, has flashes of greatness and has long periods of what's going on. They worked UNLV over. They did what they were supposed to do against Nevada, but we saw them just get boat raced in the first game of the season. It's just a hard team to just get a grasp on what we're actually dealing with here.
I mean, this is a team that their 2 losses are on the road at USF in the opener where they got jumped, man. And then against Notre Dame, one of the best teams in the country, where they threw 4 picks and just, you know, they were only down 1 touchdown in the first quarter, tied it, let Notre Dame score to end the second quarter. And then just again, Notre Dame was punching in touchdowns, but not crazy consistently. I mean, it wasn't an every drive kind of situation for Notre Dame. There were a lot of punts in that game.
Boise has a good defense.
Yeah.
They have a good defense, and it has been carrying them to this 6-2 record.
I mean, I don't want to rehash that game specifically for too long, but again, if Boise doesn't throw those 4 picks, we're probably talking 28-21 or 28-20. You know, it was a much closer game. And our model recognized that Boise State played that game really well and really close, and that's a big part of the reason that they're at 14 right now. That and the fact that they dominate everyone else they play.
And the UNLV win looked really good.
Yeah, very helpful.
At number 13, up 2 spots, Spencer's Louisville Cardinals
Let's go.
beat Boston College 38-24.
Yeah, I mean, just like I don't have much to say about that specific win. But you know what I do have a lot to say about is Louisville's chances to win the ACC. Their loss to Virginia, I think, could be what knocks them out of contention there. And unfortunately, they don't get to play Georgia Tech. So they may be one of those teams that's on the outside looking in. But they have the head-to-head tiebreaker against Pitt, who's a one-loss team. They have yet to play SMU, so they'll win that game. If they win that, then they'll have the tiebreaker just by winning it. They have the head-to-head tiebreaker against Miami, also a one-loss team. And they don't play Duke. So those ACC tiebreakers, that is, you got to have a PhD from MIT to solve that equation. And unfortunately,
Sure
our
do.
man Drew's only got a master's from MIT, so.
Yeah, you won't see me crunching the numbers on that one. At number 12, Oregon, up 5 spots, beat Wisconsin 21-7. Oregon in the AP poll is currently number 6. They're on a bye this week, getting ready for Iowa.
Yeah, Andrew, this feels high to me.
Really? I kind of
That's
think it feels a
spicy.
little low. Like it is
I-
much lower than the national media, but
I know.
I kind of
know.
agree.
I'll be Goldilocks. It feels just right to me.
I am so looking forward to Iowa-Oregon game. I am so looking forward to it.
Oregon has had such a great schedule. They had a bye before Indiana, and they get a bye before Iowa. How do they know this? How do they time this up so well? Oregon needs to win this game against Iowa.
And if they don't, we will know that they are frauds. And the S&D has been one of the only ranking systems out there to be skeptical of Oregon.
Yeah.
Now to be fair, we love Dan Lanning. So for Dan Lanning's sake, we hope that's not the case. But if it is, the model did sniff this out long ago.
Shout out-
love Dan Lanning.
Well,
I
shout
love
out to
Dan Lanning.
friend of the pod, Ben, who's been on here once as a guest, who is our Dan Lanning mastermind. If Oregon wins against Iowa, we'll have to have him on again for a guest segment.
Absolutely. At number 11, Cincinnati beats Baylor 41-20. This week they have Utah.
Oh,
Cincinnati fans, please start believing. They are I have been observing the Cincinnati fan base recently, and I've come to the conclusion that they are one of the most pessimistic fans out there. Every time that the rankings come out and it shows them higher, they all just comment, "Yeah, I don't think we should be that high." That's kind of a joke. And I'm like, please, Cincy fans, would you just believe and love this team? Because they are on a tear, and this is going to be, it's going to be fun to watch them finish this year off.
they've got a road game at Utah. They host Arizona. They host BYU, which is a great draw to host that one. And then they go on the road at TCU, which is not a gimme. But if they can win, I mean, even if they drop 2 of those 4, they might get into the Big 12 title game on tiebreakers. If they can just win 3 of those 4, they're almost a surefire in to that Big 12 title game.
The S&D 50 Week 10 Top 10. At number 10, Vanderbilt with a win against Missouri, 17-10. Vanderbilt is for real.
That was a gutsy win, a defensive win. Diego Pavia did not go off on Missouri, which I thought he would do, but still leads his team to a victory. Really curious to see how they handle bouncing from that just back and forth defensive affair to going on the road at Texas this week.
Number 9, Georgia. They are on a bye this week. They have Florida. I'm ready to give Georgia their credit. Georgia's a good team. Seeing Alabama play, we haven't got to them yet. Looking at Georgia's wins, I'm ready to call them a good team. They will catapult up these rankings next week because they're on a bye this week, and as Ole Miss keeps winning, Georgia will launch.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind, if you're looking at this on YouTube, you can already see that Ole Miss is rated ahead of Georgia. That should be shocking if you believe in this like stack rank method of like, oh, these two teams won, they're pretty close together, I better put the winner on top. But you also got to keep in mind, you get points in your rating for winning games. And Ole Miss has won 7 games, Georgia's won 6. And that's because Ole Miss has played a game more than Georgia has. As we go through these bye weeks and kind of this like cyclical, not everyone's played the same number of games at any given point in the season, you're going to get that variability. It's going to go away. As soon as we get a 7-1 Georgia team, if they win against Florida this week, they're going to be higher rated than a 7-1 Ole Miss team. But even though they're rated below them right now, it's not because we think they're worse or the model thinks they're worse. It's just that they've had literally one less chance, one less data point to tell the model how good they are.
At number 8, down 3 spots, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They were on a bye in week 9. This week, they're on a bye essentially again because they play the lowest rated Power 4 team, Boston College.
Yeah, don't expect to see a lot of movement in their rating for that game.
They might even slide.
Mm-hmm.
They will slide. Georgia will probably pass them.
Yep. Yeah, they'll slide in the rankings. I don't know if their actual rating number will slide, but we'll see.
At number 7, up 1 spot, Ole Miss. They beat Oklahoma 34-26. Lane Kiffin talking that talk. Another coach. If you're a fan of Ole Miss, you are praying that you get to keep Lane Kiffin, and he does not go take another job.
And if you're a fan of the S&D model, you would have known that Ole Miss was going to dispatch of Oklahoma. As I started watching that game and just saw Ole Miss humming up and down the field, and Oklahoma, yeah, keeping it within striking distance, but you just felt like Ole Miss is in control. And I just thought to myself, the S&D was on it. We've been on Ole Miss from the beginning. They've been high. They've been top 10 for I don't know how long. Ole Miss is a playoff contender.
And Trinidad Chambliss continues to show why he should be the starter.
I will say this about Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin currently makes $9 million at Ole Miss with another like 2.5 that he can earn in bonuses. I was listening to Joel Klatt today, and he was talking about all these contracts that are all the openings that are going around, and he thinks, and I wouldn't call this someone who doesn't know his stuff, so this is a pretty good source. He thinks that LSU is probably going to be paying $15 million for their next head coach. That I don't know if that's just straight up base or with bonuses in there, but I mean that's all. I don't know why you would need to go from 9 to 15. That's so much money, but it's a lot to say no to as well. To get basically another Power 4 conference salary added to your own.
If Lane Kiffin leaves Ole Miss to go to LSU, it takes a nasty rivalry between Ole Miss and LSU and amps it to 1,000,000.
Seriously.
That's the ultimate villain move. At number 6, up 1 spot, Georgia Tech beat Syracuse 41-16. Another name, Brent Key, head coach of Georgia Tech. Another name being thrown around in this coaching carousel as a potential coach that you want to poach to get on your team.
Not surprised what Georgia Tech did to Syracuse. I felt like last week they really proved who they were by beating a quality Duke team.
This week they have North Carolina State. They should take care of business. At number 5 in the S&D 50 in week 10, BYU. They are currently number 10 in the AP poll this week. They beat Iowa State 41-27.
Andrew, I heard a little snicker come out of your mouth as you were announcing that.
It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe.
Don't laugh. BYU deserves this. 8-0 in the Big 12. They just beat a Utah team that boat raced Colorado with their backup QB. an Iowa State team that had a bye week to prepare and get healthy for them at home that they came back on. BYU is for real. They're doing it with a true freshman quarterback. They're doing it with a defense that creates turnovers, with the best defensive coordinator in the country leading them. Kalani Sitake's letting his coordinators coach. This team is surprising the nation right now.
The Fighting Jay Hills are at it again, and Bear Bachmeier's dropping absolute dimes out there.
Yeah, that, as far as the true freshman race goes, in my book, he's the best true freshman out there right now. I know Malik Washington's really good, but BYU true freshman Bear Bachmeier putting that team on his back to lead them on that 31-3 stretch to win the game at Iowa State. And just the leadership you see from a true freshman, it's crazy. It's crazy.
At number 4, down one spot, Indiana. They beat UCLA 56-6. To a lot of people, this will be aggravating. They want to see Indiana higher. The S&D 50 has them at 4.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a matter of competition. You know, you can see here, if you're actually watching on YouTube, their S&D rating is 60-27. And to give you a sense, by the way, BYU right behind them, 58-47. So there's nearly a 200-point gap between 8-0 BYU and 8-0 Indiana. So Indiana has played much better and a tougher schedule. But right above them, Texas A&M, that win against LSU, more impressive than the win against UCLA, and that's why you see this difference.
Number 3, up one spot, Texas A&M, beat LSU, ran Brian Kelly out of town. Final score 49-25. Mike Elko and the Aggies are really doing it this year.
Another one the model was on very early, and we're seeing the rest of the world catch up on.
Absolutely. Watch this show if you want to be in the know. And speaking of in the know, Alabama at 2. That's right. Roll Tide at 2. They beat South Carolina in a nail-biter. If you watched this, a game that maybe they should not have pulled out, but they did, 29-22.
Yeah, they this is their second week in a row at number 2. They straight up should have lost that game. Like the Black Hoodie magic or something going on there.
Black Hoodie magic.
South Carolina had it, let it slip away, and Alabama was able to hold on to their rating. But Texas A&M made up some ground on them. You know, that's shaping up to be a really interesting 1-2 battle in the SEC.
Alabama has grit. To see them score at the end of that game, get the 2-point conversion, and then get that strip fumble recovery on defense, and then not just get a field goal to seal it, get a touchdown to seal it. Very impressive by the Tide. And at number 1, another week, another Buckeye, top of the poll, Ohio State, number 1 in the S&D 50 in week 10. They were on a bye. This week they have Penn State, which also kind of feels like a bye for how good this Ohio State team is. A game we wish would have been a better game, but Ohio State looks like they're going to continue to roll.
Like you guys pointed out earlier, Spencer, I think it was you who pointed out the difference between Indiana at 4 and BYU at 5. We're looking at what? We're looking at less than 100-point difference, though, between Ohio State and Indiana at 4.
Yep.
Which tells me right now the model is identifying 4 teams that have a legit shot of being the best in the country right now. And that's these 4, Indiana, A&M, Alabama, Ohio State. And everyone else is kind of scrapping below them.
Yep, part of it is performance, but part of it is opportunity. These teams play tougher schedules, and they're winning those games. Like, say what you will about Indiana's overall schedule, but that win against Oregon was huge. Ohio State has been dominant, right? Yeah, BYU is 8-0. Yeah, Georgia Tech is 8-0. But, you know, and those 2 teams, for what it's worth, are within like 50 points of each other. Like, they're very close. I think only 30 points separate them. But this top 4 is another tier altogether.
And the AP poll does deserve some credit. They have Ohio State at 1, Indiana at 2, Texas A&M at 3, Alabama at 4. Mix them up however you want. They're pretty similar between the 4 of them. These are the best 4 teams. That wraps up the S&D 50 for Week 10. We now go through the Week 10 Conference Index, where we show all 9 conferences, the difference in average rating between each conference, and the number of S&D 50 teams in each conference. MAC has 0 S&D 50 teams. Conference USA has 1. Sunbelt has 2. Mountain West has 3. American has 5. ACC has 8. Big 12 has 9. Big 10 has 9. And the SEC has 12 teams in the S&D 50.
Yeah, as we start to get deeper into conference play, you see the cream starting to rise to the top. And, in a deep conference like the SEC, you have some teams fall out of the 50 because they just, you're going to just take loss after loss after loss, and it's going to send you out. But really fun to see the ACC getting back into the mix. They're almost catching up to the Big 12.
The SEC is starting to separate itself in average rating.
Yeah, speaking of how those conferences look compared to each other, our conference quads this week show a little bit of shifting in the SEC. Our top to bottom looks pretty similar. You got the SEC A group leading the way with Bama, A&M, Ole Miss, and Georgia. The Big 10A group right behind with Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, and Michigan joining them this week. The Big 12A group with BYU, Cincy, Texas Tech, and Houston passing Utah. And then the ACC-A group with Georgia Tech, Louisville, Virginia, Miami. No change there. At 5, you've got the SEC-B group with Vanderbilt, Mizzou, Tennessee, and Texas sliding up. At 6, you've got that American A group, that sneaky American leader group with no Memphis still, despite the win over USF. That group is Tulane, Navy, North Texas, and South Florida. The Big 10B group has USC, Washington up 1 from the Big 10C group joining them after their big win. Iowa and Illinois sliding down from the A group. And then at 8, you got the Big 12B group, who widened their gap over the 9 and 10 squads. They've got Utah down a group, TCU, Arizona State, and Kansas State joining them as the 8th highest rated team in the Big 12. But here's where the change happened in Week 10. The Mountain West A group is 1 rating point higher than the SEC's C group of Oklahoma, Florida, LSU, and Auburn. So kudos to the Mountain West A group for a little jump in this conference quad rating and knocking the SEC C group down to number 10.
Our Week 10 playoff picture, if the S&D 50 was solely in charge of putting together the college football playoff, this is how it would shake out.
Yeah, if the playoffs happened today, we would start with that 5-12 matchup. That would be number 5 BYU hosting a game against Boise State. Little Mountain West action there. The winner of that game would go play Indiana, the 4 seed, in the Orange Bowl. In your 6-11 matchup, you would have ACC champion Georgia Tech beating probably Big 12 runner-up Cincinnati at number 11. The winner of that game would go play Texas A&M in the home game. In the Cotton Bowl. Ole Miss at number 7 would host Vanderbilt in an all-SEC first-round game to go play Alabama in the Sugar Bowl for an all-SEC bracket. And then Notre Dame, the 8 seed, would host number 9 Georgia for the rights to go and play Ohio State in the Rose Bowl game as the 1 seed. Our next 3 teams out, Oregon, Louisville, and Michigan.
BYU hosting Boise would put me over the moon. Just seeing the Mountain West action going on there. That is a rivalry that has gone dormant since BYU joined the Big 12. And boy, Boise fans would love a shot at the Cougars in Provo in a playoff setting.
Georgia Tech and Cincinnati would be a really scrappy matchup, and Ole Miss and Vanderbilt would be a clash of styles I would love to see. Our S&D 50 Group of 5 Top 25 Week 10 edition. Thank you to everyone who watched our Week 9 edition.
Yeah, in Week 10, we've got the teams we've already mentioned in the 50. Boise State leading the way, followed by Tulane, Navy, Southern Miss, and James Madison. North Texas, UNLV, South Florida, San Diego State, and Kennesaw State rounds out the top 10. Then you've got the teams, Memphis also in the 50 at 11, but then you've got the teams that dropped out, Hawaii and ECU at 12 and 13, And then we get into the creme de la creme, the true G5 madness just outside of the S&D 50. You got Miami of Ohio, the highest rated MAC team at 14th in our S&D G5 top 25. Troy at 15, Temple at 16, Jacksonville State and New Mexico, Marshall and Old Dominion round out the top 20. And then you've got Ohio, Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech, Western Michigan, and UTSA to round out the G5 top 25.
The amount of movement we see in this G5 top 25 every week is insane. Teams 13 through 25 can completely switch around week in and week out.
Southern Miss at 4. Oh, it makes you wonder if they only had one loss, what their shot might have been at potentially making a run for that playoff spot. But with 2 losses, you just know the committee isn't going to give them any respect, but the model really is liking them at the 4th best G5 resume so far.
And they're on a collision course to play James Madison for the Sun Belt title. That's a game where, as a one-loss team, depending on how the American and the Mountain West shakes out, James Madison could catapult themselves into the playoffs. But I do think as a 2-loss team, Southern Miss, it might be too little too late. But,
yeah,
chaos happens. It's not about your record for a G5 team. I don't know that anyone on this list is really vying for an at-large spot. But, if you're Southern Miss and you've got 2 losses, and you just keep on winning and you close out strong against Troy and then whoop James Madison in the title game, I mean, you're certainly an AP top 25 team at that point. If the Mountain West and the American implode, that could be yours for the taking.
Oh, wouldn't that be the day?
This shows why the group of 5 matters. Because there's a playoff spot on the line, we have 25 teams who would normally not get any shine, have a shot and have relevance in the sport. I think it's so critical to have that playoff spot open for the G5 for this reason. Our Week 10 games to watch. Again, we're 71% in identifying competitive games week in and week out with our model. These are the games in Week 10 to watch. On Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, we have number 92 FIU going to number 93 Missouri State. The rating difference is 4 points.
One of the closest to the whole season so far. I think there was a 2.6 rating difference earlier in the year, but this is extremely close, especially when you consider that the top and the bottom have really spread out as the season has gone along.
On Saturday at noon Eastern, number 40 Arizona State goes to number 46 Iowa State. The rating differential is 81.5.
Both teams looking for a bounce back here. Arizona State having to go on the road to do it. I think if we're going on the hot cold theory, this is Arizona State's game. But I think Iowa State, as long as they don't get too demoralized by the loss to BYU, I think they have this game.
At number 90 Army is going to number 105 Air Force. The rating difference is 114.6 in this clash of service academies.
Love seeing that it's on CBS. The service academies going at each other on national television.
It's great to see. And for those listening, 114 is an extremely close rating difference. It's not 4, it's not 40, but it's still very close. It's extremely similar to the rating difference between BYU and Utah when they had their rivalry game a couple weeks ago.
Army almost knocked off Tulane. Air Force almost knocked off Navy. 2 teams that can do damage. Number 112 Buffalo is going to number 121 Bowling Green. The rating difference is 103.4 in this MAC matchup.
I do miss the MACtion here. This could have been a Wednesday game. It could have been a Thursday game. I like Conference USA weekdays, but MACtion, man, that was the time.
On Saturday at noon Eastern, number 72 Central Florida goes to number 59 Baylor. The rating difference, 118.6. At 2 Eastern Saturday, number 52 East Carolina goes to number 60 Temple. The rating difference, 124.4. Big game in the American.
Yeah, this is ECU's chance to jump back into the 50. Could also be Temple's chance to springboard into it for the first time all season.
Jacob, East Carolina going to Temple. How big of a game is this for the American?
I feel like this is the battle for the lower upper tier of the American.
We're sickos here. We're sickos. We
Yeah,
care.
yeah. These are the two pesky teams of the American. These are the teams that no one, like the teams of South Florida and Memphis and Navy and North Texas. These are the two teams they don't want to face, that they're holding their breath when they know they're coming up on their schedule, that could upset and beat any of them on any day. And so to have these two teams go at each other it's basically like, oh goody, I get to see who of the peskies is peskier, who really is ready to take that next step forward into the upper tier of the American. It comes down to this on Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern, between Temple and East Carolina.
Saturday at 3:30 Eastern, number 96 Delaware goes to number 97 Liberty. The rating differential is 17 points. We will see if Liberty's coach making $5 million is the difference in this game.
I know it's not the smallest rating difference, but this feels like the sicko game of the week for me. And that might be because this podcast has made me fall in love with the Delaware Blue Hens and what they're doing.
The other day, I saw a picture of the Delaware Blue Hens men's bathroom. Apparently, they have
the pee wall.
they have a wall that you just walk up to, and it's got, I guess they like dug a trench down in the floor that funnels all the pee out of there.
All right, next season, the S&D 50 crew's got to take the show on the road to go to a Blue Hens home game to really experience what this is all about.
Take a pilgrimage, and hopefully the pee room still stands in the most efficient urinal in all of college football.
I hope that wasn't an old picture, because it reminded me of I grew up in a rural area, and I remember going to high school football games, and there just being troughs that you peed
in. Been there, done that.
Number 117 Louisiana is going to number 110 South Alabama. The rating difference is 84.8. South Alabama, we can't quit them. They're in a competitive game, it seems, every single week.
Seriously. Third week in a row, for sure. And they've been in here before as well.
And they'll deliver. It'll be competitive. You can bet on that.
They won their last one, too.
Saturday at 4 Eastern, number 91 Central Michigan goes to number 85 Western Michigan. The rating differential is 55.1.
Well, last week I said in that Western Michigan-Miami game that the winner would win the MAC. This could be a battle for second best. I think that Miami's got it in the bag, but, never count out the rest of the MAC to catch them.
The Chippewas are having a good year with the new coach. Saturday, 7 Eastern, number 57 Arizona goes to number 64 Colorado. The rating differential is 76.8.
Like, I've been high on Colorado all year if you've been listening to the show, but it really felt like Utah took their soul last week, and I'm not sure they're gonna get it back after what just happened. It felt like Caden Salter just threw in the towel. That Dion was looking like he was ready for retirement. Who knows? They could prove me wrong, but Arizona's coming off a bye. Arizona has had a couple of tough losses. I think Arizona is going to get back in the win column and possibly get back in the S&D 50.
We will see if Colorado plays better at home than on the road, because clearly they've played better at home all season long. Number 31 Oklahoma at 7:30 Eastern goes to number 24 Tennessee. The rating differential is 140.9. A big game for Tennessee to beat a team over 500.
Yeah, if they can pull it off. This is essentially a keep your playoff hopes alive game, though, for both teams. I mean, lose this and you're out of contention. That's what it comes down to, I think.
Big game at Neyland Stadium. Saturday, Big 12 after dark, 10:15 Eastern. Cincinnati, number 11, going to number 20 Utah. Rating differential 154.1. Rice Eccles at night is a problem. I'll keep saying it till I'm blue in the face.
This is also a late kick local time, and I was just curious too. I know it's going to be November 1st. We're just getting into fall, winter, but do you know what it's going to be like in Utah on Saturday? I mean, it's not going to be that terrible. I just looked it up. It's going to be in the 50s or 40s, but to be Cincinnati and have to go play in potentially 40-degree weather in mile-high altitude, that's going to be a tough spot.
And Vegas thinks so. They have Utah as 8.5-point favorites right now.
8.5?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our friend Josh Pate always likes to say that a home game's worth about 3. Do we really think that Utah would be like a 5-point favorite on a neutral field against Cincinnati?
Rice Eccles at night is different. I'm telling you. The venue matters here. Now, I think Cincinnati will win, but it will be a big win for Cincinnati if they can do it.
And Cincinnati fans better believe if they win.
I am not a gambler, but I would stay away from that.
That wraps up our podcast for this week. Spencer, thank you so much for being on.
A pleasure, as always. I love doing this. I love talking college football. I love drinking the Spindrift. It's a good time. Can't wait to see how these games play out.
Jacob, it's an absolute pleasure to have you back. Thank you so much for your time this week.
So happy to be back talking college football with you guys.
And thank you to every single person who makes it this far on the podcast. Hit the like, drop a comment that you made it this far. We love you. We hope you have a great week, a safe week. Enjoy these games, and we will be back next week.